Page number
Page 169.
169.
This is one of Darren's favorite bhajans. So I just want to welcome everyone to Darren Perkins Memorial. And I just wanted to share that everyone is most welcome to share either here or on Zoom. And if they want to share on Zoom, they need to raise their hands.
Nam Tumara
Devase Santanaka Sangrapao Nam Tumara Devase Santanaka Sangrapao Manorat Puran Pure Simaro Tumara Nama Sagala Manorat Puran Pure Simaro Tumara Nama Nama Tumara Sanganika Sangrapao Nama Tumara Hirdevasi Sanganika Sangrapao Charane Tumare Hirdevasi Sanganika Sangrapao Charane Tumare Hirdevasi Sanganika Sangrapao Suryagan me manana me Aaj pehre tune gaao Suryagan me manana vyape Aaj pehre tune gaao Naam tumhara Hirdevasi Santan ka sang pao Naam tumhara Hirdevasi Santan ka sang pao Swasth Vyavastha Har ki seva Madhyant Prabh Japane Swasth Vyavastha Har ki seva Madhyant Prabh Japane Nanak rang laga Parmeshwar Gaur janam na japna Nanak rang laga Parmeshwar Gaur janam na japna Naam tumhara Hirdevasi Santan ka sang pao Naam tumhara Hirdevasi Sananika Sangha.
Let your nom reside in my heart, and let me have the company of the saints. From the Lord I ask for one donation, that all my desires may be fulfilled, so that I may repeat your nom. Let your feet reside in my heart. Let me have the company of the saints, so that the fire of passions may not spread in my mind, and day and night I may sing your praise. When I have good health, and also when I don't, let me serve God, and in my middle age, let me meditate upon him. Nanak says, those who are dyed in the color of God do not take birth and die again. So today we're honored. Susan Perkins is going to share, and we're also going to see photographs while she shares.
The projector. Projector on.
Projector on.
No, just need to turn the projector. It's turning on.
Well, let's see. Oh, is it advancing on its own?
Yeah.
Can we set it so it just
Manually?
it goes manually? Okay, so thank you while we're getting the technical stuff worked out. I think that's good, Judy, if I flip a little bit of the top light. And yeah, I think you have to do that. It's good. Just a little bit of light. Darkness wasn't okay. Okay, so thank you for being here to remember Darren. He was my person for 50 years, and he was an inspiration to many of the people in the early part of the satsang and through the years. And I know he took inspiration from a lot of the people who are in this room as well. A little louder. Okay, a little closer maybe. I'll just, is that better? Yes. Okay. I first became aware of Darren because I was friends with his brother Craig. We were living at the Golden Lotus, and we were all hippies, and he was so grown up. He was in university, he had a car, and I remember seeing him. I don't think I ever met him at that time, but I remember seeing him across the room at the satsangs that used to be held at Mr. and Mrs. Nagar's house, because he was staying with them for a while. The next time I remember hearing anything about him, I was visiting Craig just after his first child was born, and there was a picture that black and white pencil drawing that Darren had made, and Colin Winworth had them distributed. He made a bunch of posters and distributed them, and I saw it on the wall, and I thought, boy, that guy is really talented. I think I'd like to get to know him. And then yeah, go ahead. Darren was the oldest of 5 redheaded children, and who grew up in North Van. You can leave it on that one for a while. He went to the Vancouver School of Art. He majored in ceramics, and then he did an arts degree at UBC, and then he did the professional development program that led him into teaching. And when I met him in 1974, he had just started his first year of teaching at the Waldorf School in North Van. Okay. So next slide. When my marriage fell apart, I was staying in the little trailer at the ashram in Surrey. And Darren, which was the only building on the ashram at that time. And Darren had a trailer parked on Trites Road in Colin Limmer's house that later became our house. So he would give me a ride into satsang on Sundays. I can't remember where satsang was at that time. Might have still been at the Y, or I'm not sure. But he was so good with my little girls that we started spending time together, and one thing led to another, and the rest, as they say, is history. And then we were married in 1975, and in 1976, Miranda joined us. So, I'll go to the next one, I think. And the major themes in Darren's life were intertwined. His first priority always, I think, was his spirituality. That was kind of the core of all the decisions that he made, and how he chose the choices that we made as a family. He was a dedicated meditator. He would be the first to tell you he wasn't perfect, but he really tried. It was, that effort was there his entire life. I'm not entirely sure of the ranking of the other four themes, but they were family, art, teaching, and nature, and often in combination. And then next slide. And then Christopher came along in 1987. And then let's see, the next few slides are just, oh, that's a nice one. Everybody looks so young. What year did you guys graduate?
95, right?
95, okay. So that's 30 years ago. Yeah, okay, gosh. And there's, just us, and keep going. Yeah, so you'll notice in the pictures, a lot of the settings are out in the woods. When I was looking for pictures of Darren, I had to dig through family archives, and most of the pictures were of trees, because Darren kept trying to find good pictures of nature to paint. Okay. Good, go ahead. And there's family. Must be Thanksgiving. And then there's Christopher and Darren helping out on the roof. A lot of people will remember our little house on Trites Road. Yeah. Okay. And that was we had a place on Gabriola Island for about 16 years where we'd go every summer. And that was one summer there. Oh, and then there were 2 weddings a year apart. What year was yours, Miranda?
2001.
2001. So 2001 and 2002, I guess. That's Miranda's wedding.
Harmony's 2000.
Oh, okay, right. Okay, that's at Harmony's wedding. I couldn't remember who was first. And the next one, that's at Miranda's wedding. And then shortly after that, we started having grandchildren. Is that little Jack? Yeah. And that's 20 years apart, roughly. There's Chris and grandson Liam. And Miranda's kids in our pool at our complex. And there's a whole bunch of them. And that's on Gabriola. That was, Darren loved taking the little guys down to the beach and spending time turning over rocks and finding crabs. That's in Alaska. So, like I said, teaching was a theme throughout Darren's life. He was a teacher when I met him, and took a break from it for a while to have a business in pottery, and then he went back to teaching later on. He started at the Waldorf School, and then there was a break of 12 years when we had a pottery business, and then he taught for 3 years at or more maybe, probably 4 years at the Kripal Ashram School. So you go ahead. It was in the little ex-meditation hall at the ashram. And it was a really special time. The kids that had an outhouse, I'm not sure that it would ever meet regulations, but but it was really sweet. And then he shortly after when he stopped doing that, he taught for 20 years in the Langley School District. Might have been his first grade 1 class. And then he taught grades 1 to 4 and high school art, and he also taught some specialized art classes. And yeah, at one point he and I shared, for a couple of years, we shared a grade 4 classroom in a school in Aldergrove. And then, that didn't, somehow the script on, go ahead. The script on that didn't come out all that well, but through all this time, Darren kept up his meditation practices. And over the years, he went to see Master Kripal at Sound Ashram in Delhi. And go ahead. He visited his brother Craig, who has a yoga retreat in Baja, California. And then, go ahead. There was a stretch of time where we, both of us went to India each year. Usually we went separately because of kids and business and stuff, but there was one year we got to go together. And one of our favorite memories was him pumping the water while I washed my hair. So my hair was really long then, so I couldn't do it in a bucket. And then that's at the ashram in Surrey for one of Sanjay's visits with Craig and his wife. And go ahead. And with Chris at Yellow Point. He really enjoyed the Yellow Point retreats in many years. Okay, so Darren came into the world with artistic talent. It was clear early on, and his family encouraged him to develop it. Go ahead. After he was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2002, teaching became too tiring, and he moved away from teaching and combined his loves of art and nature and spent a lot of time trying to capture the play of light and shadow in the natural settings around him. Go ahead. This is out of order, but this is how we made our living for 12 years, making dwarves. We sold these all over Canada and North America, and the faces were inspired by wise people in some of the masters and some Sevadars and different people that he saw. And people would say that they felt something special from them. People would buy them and say they had magical powers. I'm not sure, but it was nice that they thought so. Let's see. Yeah, go ahead. And he did a painting. Our niece Courtney asked him to do a painting of her favorite place in Vancouver, and he did. And go ahead. And here's some paintings that he did of favorite places. He liked to do pathways and sort of have them leading off into a mystery, and I think sort of allegorical. And he also did several paintings of the masters, sketches, and then a few finished paintings. And they're pretty nice too. Okay, and Parkinson's is not a nice disease, and it gradually took from Darren much of what he loved. First, teaching became too tiring, but for quite some time, art was a consolation. And as he became physically weaker and dementia started to take hold, it became too hard to keep the place on Gabriola, so that had to go too. And the art became hard to do after a while. In his last few years, the dementia got pretty bad, and it became too difficult to care for him at home. We were fortunate to find a room for him in a care home in Fort Langley, with compassionate staff and a peaceful view out of the garden in his private room. He gradually lost the ability to walk and to feed himself, and his speech became hard to understand. He was there for about 2.5 years. Two things he did not lose were his family and his friends, and his connection to the master. To the end, he recognized and appreciated family members and the friends who came to visit him. I was with him every day, and he always knew who I was. It was sometimes hard for him to focus, but he often appreciated listening to satsangs and bhajans. Okay, go ahead. So that was Darren right in December. One nice thing in the care home was that there was a place, a little separate alcove where people could come. And there was a table and chairs, and we could bring Darren over, and we had little gatherings. And he so appreciated people being able to come there and spend time with him, where there was no pressure. We would just have a chat, and he could join in as he could. And then right after Christmas, he started to really not eat, and he seemed to become less responsive. But on Boxing Day, go ahead. On Boxing Day, the family went for a visit, and he seemed a little some elsewhere for a lot of the time. But I said to him at the end, I said, "It's nice to have everybody here, isn't it?" And he said, "It sure is." Mm-hmm. And then the next day, he slipped into a deep sleep, and he did not wake up. Go ahead. So for 4 days, I guess, I stayed with him pretty much day and night. And Miranda would come sometimes and relieve me, but we made a point of making sure that the staff didn't medicalize the process. It was very calm. He was not in any distress. He was just quiet. And we kept the room quiet with soft lighting and soft music, and just let him do what he needed to do. Which was just a real blessing. The staff was wonderful. They bring us in tea and coffee, and I just slept in the recliner in his room, and they sort of pretty much left us alone, except for really tender care. So January 1st, just before noon, he quietly took his last breath. And go ahead. So that's a picture of his hands just after he passed. I always loved his hands. Thank you. So thank you for being here. I guess there are a few people that have mentioned that they would like to speak, and then it's open for anybody else who'd like to say something.
Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Where there is darkness, light. And where there is sadness, joy. Memories of Darren. The first time I saw Darren was when he was with Susan in 1974, and they both were filled with light. A feeling of peace surrounded them. Darren was very centered and devoted his life to his master, Sant Kirpal Singh and Sant Ajayab Singh, as well as to his loving family. During the time of Kirpal Ashram School, I remember conversations with Darren about fairies, and I was also struck by how many of the students were able to see real fairies on the ashram grounds. Darren was always a gentle soul, and he inspired the children at the school with creativity and excited them with learning in a holistic way. He also was an amazing artist, and some of his artwork looked magical. His watercolor paintings looked like they came down from the higher realms. He always was selfless, and he accepted the challenges that came his way with grace. I never heard him complain, no matter how much he went through with having Parkinson's disease. He always chose to look on the bright side of life. Remember that he once shared with me that his vision was impaired, but he was seeing an angel, and this was comforting to him. Today I will be reading from a talk that Darren gave when he returned from India in 1989, because it captures so many beautiful qualities that he had. He will always be an inspiration to our Sangha and to many members of the community. He will also always live in our hearts. This was given after he returned on January 1989 from Group 4. Sanchi sends his love to all the dear ones in the Sangha. Although he only came out walking twice, Sanchi appears to be in excellent health. This time I was feeling somewhat unprepared, caught up in a flurry of worldly activity just before I left. But somewhere behind it all, I felt the Master's reassuring smile, telling me it was all right, not to worry. The last time I was with him, I carried a heavy burden of worry, which I couldn't seem to shake during most of the time there, even in his presence. So this time it was a very welcome relief to have burnt that off. Whatever it was that I couldn't shake off last time, and to just really be with them. Looking back to the very earliest trips to Rajasthan, this trip seemed to be very easy in comparison. After 2 days rest in the comfortable hotel in Delhi and an early morning start for the modern bus ride up to the ashram, I felt quite buoyant as we drew nearer to the ashram. It was a wonderful homecoming. I remember the sway of the bus as it rolled through the now higher gates in the higher wall, the servitors quietly attending to our baggage as we walked through the tunnel-like passage into his inner courtyard, and then finally walking right up to him as he waited there for each one of us. Was very real yet symbolic, with the high walls and the big gate shutting out the world behind us, and the passage through the corridor to his inner court. And as simple as it appears on the outside, it is the very home of God. For me, it was a quiet joy and a quiet knowing and an incredible peace, being right with him physically again, that set the tone for this trip. It was a lovely group. The weather was warm, at least not too cold, and there was really no bad weather. Nobody got very sick, and there were people from all over the world there. It was so nice to see a lot of old familiar faces again. There were about 43 people in the group, 10 from South America, 10 from South Africa, as well as Mark and Elvia Rubold, and their little son Gregory was just learning to talk. Once when Sanchi was going up to his room after a bhajan session, with everyone gathered around at the feet of the stairs, little Gregory said very loud while everyone was totally quiet, "Papuji." I think I heard Elvia say quietly to Gregory, "No, that is Babaji." But again, Gregory said, "Papuji," very loud. It was really very funny. As I mentioned, Master seemed to be in really good health, but still it's really indescribable to watch his progress as he walks up the steps. One time in particular, it seemed so apparent that he was literally lifting us all up step by step as he went, carrying a big burden. It was with such grace and love and beauty as he went slowly up the stairs and looked down at us. At this time of year, especially that first night, I remember it was quite misty. I couldn't help feeling something from my own background and Christian upbringing associated with Christmas. It reminded me of Mildred Mead. I mentioned I was reading one of her talks at Christmas, which was the incredible sense of the wise men or shepherds coming in search of the Christ child. All of the mystical orientation of that first Christmas were present here. I could sense from the looks of the servitors and the other dear ones who work there a feeling of honoring the Christ and what it could have perhaps been like in those days with Jesus. There was an interesting series of events that took place with a lady from South Africa. She was white, whereas all the others from there were Indian. Because of their color and the political situation, normally white South Africans are not allowed into India, and so she had arrived on the maximum 7-day visit to Rajasthan. I don't know how she got that far, but she was sharing that she might have to go home that day in a jeep, and that Mr. Oberoi was off trying to sort things out. We were all worried for her, and hoped that she would be able to stay. But the fact was that there was no exception and there was no way she could stay longer. Later on in the day, I saw her again, and although she hadn't left yet, she did not look overjoyed. She said Mr. O'Roy hadn't come back yet. The next day, there she was in meditation. Later on, I asked Mr. O'Roy how it had come that she was able to stay on, and he said, "Oh, it's only the merciful grace of the beloved Master, no other reason." As an overall theme and something that came up several times in different satsangs and question and answer sessions, Sanchi seemed to be focusing on the sense that we have our karma to work out and what we have to deal with. We don't have any choice. We should do the best we can in our attitude and always look to him. It came out in many ways. And as I say this now, it seems as though it's the same thing I've heard time and time again. But when you're there with him, it has a much deeper penetration. All the petty annoyances and all the grumbles that we have, as well as the really traumatic, heart-rendering things, we have to see them as our due, as what we have wrought to ourselves, accept them as best as we can, and just look to him. Something else that Sanchi mentioned at least 3 or 4 times was that there were as many dear ones in the group who were seeing the Master within, and that they were able to talk to him within, and at any time could bring the Master before them. My reaction to that was, gee, I wonder who he's talking about. It's not me. But it was truly encouraging. And I thought to myself, people here are really making it, and not just 1 or 2 that really stand out, the rare exceptions. But he was speaking about many of the dear ones. There really was a sense of peace that came from the group as a whole, of being in a place where they didn't have to worry anymore. I can't express what kind of hope and encouragement that gave to me. It was a wonderful feeling to have that kind of maturity surrounding me in the group. In the underground room talk, he opened up in an expansive way that I had never seen him do there before. It was quite a long talk, and he brought the young Pathy with him. It became a satsang. He began by saying that the Master can bring together those he chooses from wherever he wishes in the world. There was a sense of his total power and will, that if he willed something, that was it. There was no question of his total control of everything when he wished to exert that. And again, he referred to the many advanced dear ones in the group, encouraging them to go out and tell people of the Master. And it seemed only natural for them to do that, since they were in the position of being solidly rooted in the Master power. I have a talk from this group, a question and answer session, where a sister asked a question regarding different kinds of karmas. There are the sanchit karmas that we would normally have to pay off, but the Master takes all these upon himself when we are initiated. But the pralabdha or fate karmas are reserved for us to pay off in this lifetime. The question asked was this: out of all our past karmas, how do we know and how is it chosen which karmas we have to pay off in this lifetime? Sanchi's reply reiterated something he says so often, namely, as many dear ones here do go inside, they know the answer to this question. And if you go inside, you too will understand the answer to this question. He did go on to explain it again in detail, but the real question many of us have is the kind of thing that can't be answered until we go inside because it is beyond the intellect. The same sister that asked that question shared with me an interesting anecdote that happened to her, something very hard that she went through, but fascinating when she shared it. She happens to be a good singer, and last year when she was in India, she worked up the nerve to sing a bhajan during the Indian bhajan session when the Westerners go in with the Indians. She started singing, but Sanchi stopped her and started to leave. Just then another man started singing. Sanchi smiled at the man, came back to his chair, and sat down to listen. She was absolutely devastated and crushed, and after the bhajan session, she felt totally demoralized. Papu was very kind and understanding, and arranged another darshan for her afterwards. This year coming back, she sang really sweetly at the Indian bhajan session, and she said it took a lot of courage for her to sing then. It was right after this session that she told me that there was a real story behind all this. The man whose bhajan Sanchi chose to listen to instead of hers is the group leader in South Africa, and together with his wife had been highly instrumental in bringing that satsang together. Last year he passed away, so that was his last opportunity to sing to the Master. None of this was obvious at the time, of course, but has really helped her to understand now. There is a reason for everything, and it may be simply for us to learn humility. I think I've covered most of the thoughts I had about this trip. I'd like to go back to something that I felt. Having gone there 8 times, I was reminded of it once again. Master has always been gracious in terms of encouragement and giving a lift. And this time I couldn't help but feeling that there was a lightness in being there, experiencing so much forgetfulness, especially after getting so deeply immersed in all sorts of intricacies of the physical plane. And the fact of the matter is that the Master is working on us, and he is working things off. There really is progress, even though it seems that it's all up and down and so dark sometimes. He is right there waiting for us. In fact, that was the essence of his Christmas message. Beloved Master has given you the Shabbat. He is waiting for you to take you home with his grace. But unless we go within, we cannot know how great our Master is. Just to finish, I want to say how much I appreciate the support we get from each other here at Satsang, having a meditation hall and everything. I feel grateful because there are a lot of dear ones who don't have the support. They don't have the support that we do here, so thank you. I just want to close with a short poem that I wrote. All is a reflection of God. Hold on to his hand, never let go. He is the owner of myriads of universes, complete perfection, every falling leaf, each blade of grass, every raindrop, the rhythmic waves of the ocean, dreaming flowers emitting love, scintillating stars in the evening. The reflection of God resonates. I am that I am. Let thoughts evaporate, be silent, and hear his voice. Surrender all to our Father. Awaken to a new realm of brilliance. Spread your angelic wings and fly homeward, straight into his eternal ocean of glory and grace. So if anyone would like to share, they're most welcome.
It is really wonderful that we are here at the ashram, because it is really true how much Darren loved his masters and his love of nature, and that our ashrams have always combined that together. And I think of Darren as somebody who knew about the connective tissue throughout the forest and the fungi, and kind of like we talk about it a lot these days about how there's the mycelium working underneath and communicating through the forest. And I always have felt like Darren was in touch with that. And he would have noticed that when spiders are, he would have noticed that spiders don't think with their brains. They think with the whole web. And so you will notice that if a spider web gets attacked, it's like there's a stroke happening to the spider. And so we can celebrate that Darren has caught onto that thread with the with the light and the sound current. We know that he's in the lap of the Satguru, but the rest of us are dangling and rebuilding together. And it's so grateful that we can all be together today as part of that rebuilding of the web of our lives without him in it. I have deep compassion and love for you all, Susan, Miranda, Luke, your children, Sage, everyone who is his close friends, all of us here who loved him, and yeah, everybody who misses him. I had the great honor to work alongside Darren at the Kirpal Ashram School. And it was such a charming building that we had there as we walked down this wood chip road a long way eating salmon berries as we would go down to start the day. And Darren always started the day with stories and song. And it was such a great way to unify everybody. But the cool thing about Darren's stories is he asked us always to have memorized the stories because he wanted us to have eye contact and he wanted it to have the biggest impact it could have on everybody is if we knew the story in our bones. So when the school expanded, the older kids moved up into a space in Darren and Susan's home, which was really generous of them. Thank you for that. And later, I just wanted to tell you that the stories were often stories of the masters or nature-based stories or fairy tales, as Judy mentioned. The most important thing I learned from Darren was something that he learned at the Waldorf School in North Vancouver. Every night he would think of each student and he would imagine what would increase their capabilities and their receptivity to learning and what would help them grow as a student. So you can imagine that he was each night matching what would match each student with things like concentration, confidence, encouragement, empathy, strength, forgiveness, focus, and teamwork. And that is something I took with me through my entire career, was that gift that he gave me. When we moved to the Boy Scout camp, there was vastly more room for the kids to play. And we always allowed them longer recesses and lunches because Darren really knew that nature is what strengthens us and connects us and also makes us more receptive for learning. So there they were able to climb trees, collect frogs, jump over the river. And I remember one particular time when they had to rescue it was winter and one of the students had fallen through the ice. And so they had to teamwork and problem solve together. So many years later, I was offered an office in a school and it was windowless. And so Darren painted a picture of a sunrise at Long Beach near Tofino. And the light play on that picture really helped. It was gorgeous, a gorgeous painting. And we can see his ability, his masterful strokes in playing with light. There's so much to remember about Darren, his generosity and how he expressed that in his creativity, his passionate love for the masters, the wisdom and gentleness of his clay wizards, the tenderness he showed with school children and grandchildren and children, his grandchildren, his love of family, his engagement with nature, his paintings of glorious colors and light. So I'm hoping that today that we can welcome one of his gifts into our lives. I will be carrying the way he valued friendship. In the words of Russell Perkins, may God bless us all.
Well, I hadn't planned on speaking today, but such sweet memories are coming to mind about our very, very dear friend Darren. And our association, aside from in the satsang, first started when we both, my husband Jim and I, had a business, and Darren and Susan did as well. And we collaborated to start Enchanted Meadow Products. And we had been making potpourri and Darren came up with the graphics and um, we, there was we had some really nice blends, Guinevere's Garden and Midsummer's Dream and Fairy Meadow. No, that was a tea. But anyways, eventually, Darren and Susan decided to move onwards with their business, and so we bought Enchanted Meadow from them. And it was such a great way to negotiate because Darren and Susan wanted us to pay less money, and we wanted to pay them more. And wow, this is the way business should work. And as we all know, Darren was a consummate artist. He was just incredible. And we have several paintings, one that I commissioned with him that still hangs over our fireplace. And of course, the remarkable painting of Master Kerpal and Sanchi, that iconic scene of Sanchi in this Ruana in golden tones. And I have it in my room, and even when it's dark, the light is just emanating from it. What else? Drawing a blank, but I'm really happy to be able to speak and remember Darren. And no doubt he's, well, how can we know? I think I'd like to be where he is now.
Yeah, I'll be very brief. Whenever I would come here for satsang, Darren was always such a warm, loving presence. Just the kindness in his smile. It was, yeah. I really love the guy, and I'm glad that he's moved on from the pain that he was in for so long. And it's really nice to hear all the stories, how much he touched people's lives. He's just a wonderful person.
If anyone on Zoom would like to share, could you raise your hand so that we could give everybody an opportunity? We have a darshan line that we're going to show just for about 5 minutes now.
Second, from the slumber of ages and ages. Awakened from the slumber of ages and ages.
ਮੇਰਾ ਜਗਨ ਸਵਾਦ ਗੁਰੂ ਕਰ ਦੇ ਮੁਖ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਭਗਤੀ ਕਰਦੇ ਹੈ
We will close the memorial with a Bajlan, so anyone's welcome to lead a Bajlan.
Page 199.
Page 199.
दुनिया के विच रूहां ते सदा नैया रहंदियां दुनिया के विच रूहां ते सदा नैया रहंदियां घट के जान भजन जो रहंदियां दुनिया के विच रूहां ते सदा नैया रहंदियां छड़ के जहान सब ने टुर जाना अपनाए घर होने होया बेगाना छड़ के जहान सब ने टुर जाना अपनाए घर होने होया बेगाना अपना बस जे होंदा जुदाइयां कानू सहंदियां दुनिया दे विच रूहां ते सदा नैया रहंदियां घट के जान भजन जो रहंदियां दुनिया दे विच रूहां ते सदा नैया रहंदियां हुस्न जवानियां नू हर कोई चाहे मथे दियां लिखियां नू कौन मिटावे हुस्न जवानियां नू हर कोई चाहे मथे दियां लिखियां नू कौन मिटावे कर्मां दे अनुसार ते दुख सुख सहंदियां दुनिया दे विच रूहां ते सदा नैया रहंदियां घट के जान भजन जो रहंदियां दुनिया दे विच रूहां ते सदा नैया रहंदियां जिन्हां ने गुरु तो तन मन वारिया पाना मिठा मन के ते शुक्र गुजारिया जिन्हां ने गुरु तो तन मन वारिया पाना मिठा मन के ते शुक्र गुजारिया 84 दे तेर प्रेरणा पैंदियां दुनिया दे विच रूहां ते सदा नैया रहंदियां घट के जान भजन जो रहंदियां दुनिया दे विच रूहां ते सदा नैया रहंदियां धन किरपाल महान के तारियां गरीब बलियां चढ़ियां बीमारियां धन किरपाल महान के तारियां गरीब बलियां चढ़ियां बीमारियां मंजिल तय कर जान जो रस्ते पैंदियां दुनिया दे विच रूहां ते सदा नैया
दुनिया दे विच हुआ इस
The souls do not remain in this world forever. Those who sit in meditation earn the profit and take it with them. All have to go, leaving this world. It was our home, but now it's become another's. If it were in our control, why would our soul bear the pain of separation? Everyone pray for beauty and youth, but who can erase what is written in their fate? The souls bear the pains and enjoy the comforts according to their karmas. Those who have sacrificed their body and mind for the Master and become grateful to him, understanding his will is sweet, they do not go in the cycle of 84 again. Hail Kripal, you liberated the souls after coming and removed the diseases of Porajaya. Those who get on the path reach their destination. The souls do not remain in this world forever. Those who sit in meditation earn the profit and take it with them. So I just want to say how much we all appreciate everyone participating in this special memorial for our dear brother Darren. And everyone is most welcome to partake of the Longar. May God bless us all. Thank you.